Welcome to BeFM Drama, where we're presenting Part 7 of A Study in Scarlet, the first Sherlock Holmes story. In this episode, we're exploring the backstory of Jefferson Hope, the murderer whose crimes have absorbed the attention of Holmes and Watson. We're a world away from London today, in a strange settlement in the American West with despotic rulers who govern in the name of God. Please join me in this tale of John Ferrier and his daughter, Lucy, the woman so loved by Jefferson Hope, and the impetus, perhaps, for the crimes that Holmes and Dr. Watson are investigating. This is not the place to describe the hardship endured by the immigrant followers of the Prophet in that vast desert. But there was not one among them who did not sink upon their knees in prayer when they saw that broad valley bathed in sunlight beneath them, and learned from the lips of their leader that this was their promised land and would be forevermore. Maps were drawn up and a future city shaped out. Farms were given out according to the status of each acolyte. Everything prospered, and the great temple they'd erected in the city center grew ever taller and larger. John Ferrier and Lucy, the girl who had been adopted as his daughter, accompanied them to the end of their pilgrimage, and Ferrier soon became so popular that it was unanimously agreed he should be offered a tract of land as large as any of the other settlers, with the exception of the Prophet himself and of his elders, Stangerson, Kemble, Johnston, and Drebber. Ferrier built himself a home and worked constantly at improving his property. It wasn't long before he was wealthy, and after 12 years there were not 6 men in the valley who could compare with him. But there was a way in which Ferrier offended his neighbors. Nothing could persuade him to take many wives in the tradition of the Prophet's frontier sect. Lucy grew more beautiful every year, and soon she was as gorgeous a girl as could be found anywhere on the Pacific slope. So she was on the morning that Jefferson Hope first saw her, as he passed through the Prophet's city hoping to raise capital for a silver mine in the mountains. The moment he laid eyes on Lucy on the street, he knew mining would never seem important to him again. Jefferson Hope called on Ferrier that very night, and many times again, until his face was familiar. John enjoyed Hope's stories. He had been a pioneer in California, a scout, a trapper, a silver miner, and a ranchman. Lucy listened avidly as well, and the look on her face showed only too clearly that her heart was no longer her own. And so it came that Jefferson proposed to Lucy, and she accepted. Shortly after, he left for his mines.
I'm off, Lucy. I won't ask you to come with me now, but will you be ready to come when I am here again?
Yes, of course. And when will that be?
A couple of months. I'll return and claim you then, my darling. There's no one who can stand between us.
And how about Father?
He's given his consent, as long as I get the mine working all right.
Then there's no more to be said.
Thank God. It's settled. The longer I stay, the harder it will be to go. Goodbye, my darling. Goodbye. In 2 months, I shall see you.
3 weeks after Jefferson Hope departed from that city, John Ferrier's heart was sore, thinking of the young man's return and the coming loss of his adopted daughter, Lucy. But her happy face made him smile, and he knew the match was a good one. He had decided long ago that nothing would let him wed her to a follower of the Prophet. Such a marriage he regarded as no marriage at all, but as a shame and disgrace. Whatever he thought of his neighbor's doctrine, on that one point he was firm. He did not speak of it, though, for it was dangerous to voice unorthodox thoughts in those days in the Valley of the Prophet. Things had changed in the city. Even the purists dared only whisper their religious opinions. The Prophet had eyes all around, and their judgment was harsh. The invisibility of these watchers made them especially terrible. They appeared omniscient and omnipotent, but were neither seen nor heard. Any man who held out against the Prophet vanished. A rash word was followed by annihilation, and men went about in fear. Rumors spread of murdered immigrants and raided camps, of new women appearing in the harems of the elders, weeping and bearing traces of horror on their faces. None knew who belonged to the Prophet's ruthless group of assassins, so every man feared his neighbors, and none spoke the things nearest his heart. One fine morning, John Ferrier saw a stout man coming up the pathway. His heart jumped, for this was none other than the great Prophet himself. Full of trepidation, Ferrier ran to the door to greet him. The Prophet received his greeting coldly and followed him in with a stern face to the sitting room.
Brother Ferrier, the true believers have been good friends to you. We picked you up when you were starving in the desert. We shared our food with you, led you safe to the chosen valley, gave you a good share of land, and allowed you to become rich under our protection. Is this not so?
It is so.
In return for this, we ask but one condition, that you should embrace the true faith and conform to it in every way. This you promised to do, and this, if common reports are true, you have neglected.
How have I neglected it? Have I not contributed to the common good? Have I not attended at the temple? Have I not...
Where are your wives? Call them in that I may greet them.
It is true that I have not married, but women are few, and there are many with better claims than I. I am not a lonely man. I have my daughter.
It is of your daughter that I would speak to you. She has grown into a beautiful maiden, and found favor in the eyes of many who are high in the land.
John Ferrier groaned internally.
There are stories of her which I would fain disbelieve. That she is engaged to some non-believer. This must be gossip. What is the 13th rule of our code?
Let every maiden of the true faith marry one of the elect, for if she wed a Gentile, she commits a grievous sin.
This being so, it is impossible that you, who profess the Holy Creed, should allow your daughter to violate it. Your faith shall be tested. It has been decided by the Sacred Council of Four. Your girl is young, and we won't deprive her of all her choice. We elders have many wives, but our children must also be provided for. Stangerson had a son, and Drebber has a son, and either of them would gladly welcome your daughter into their house. Let her choose between them. They are young and rich, and of the true faith. What say you to that?
You must give me more time. My daughter is hardly old enough to marry.
She will have a month. At the end of that time, she shall give her answer.
The prophet stood and walked through the door, and when he turned, it was with a flushed face and flashing eyes.
It would be better for you, John Ferrier, if you and she were lying as sun-bleached skeletons on the desert than it would to put your weak will against the sacred orders of the Holy Four.
Ferrier was still wondering how to tell Lucy what had happened when a soft hand was laid upon his, and he saw her standing beside him. One glance told him that she had heard all they'd said.
I couldn't help it. Oh, Father, Father, what will we do?
Don't scare yourself. We'll fix it up somehow. You don't find your fancy for this Jefferson fellow lessening any, do you?
No, Father, I don't.
Nah, of course not. He's a good lad, which is more than these folk, in spite of all their praying and preaching. There's a group of men leaving for Nevada tomorrow. I'll ask them to send Jefferson a message. If I know anything about that man, he'll be here faster than an electro-telegraph.
Yes, he will help, but... Oh, Father, it is you I'm frightened for. You hear such awful stories about those who oppose the prophet.
But we haven't opposed him yet. We have a whole month, and at the end of that, I guess we'd better get ourselves out of the city.
Leave?
Yes.
But the farm?
We'll stash as much money as we can and let the rest go. It's not the first time I thought of running. I don't care to kneel before any man as these folks do before their damn prophet. I'm a freeborn American, and this is all new to me. If he comes around this farm again, he may well catch some buckshot.
But they won't let us leave.
Wait till Jefferson comes back. There's nothing to be feared, and no danger at all. John Ferrier spoke in a confident tone, but Lucy could not help noticing that he paid unusual attention to the fastening of the doors at night, and that he carefully cleaned and loaded the rusty old shotgun which hung on the wall of his bedroom. The next morning, Ferrier passed his message to a man bound for the Nevada mountains, entrusting him to find Jefferson Hope. He returned home with a lighter heart, but as he reached the farm, he was surprised to see horses outside. He was even more surprised to find Enoch Drebber and Joseph Stangerson waiting in his living room to make their cases for his daughter's hand in marriage. You young rascals, I would sooner be in my grave than see my Lucy the wife of either one of you. There are two ways out of this room, the door and the window. Which would you care to use? Shocked into silence, the privileged sons of the elders ran from Ferrier's house with fury in their eyes. He watched them go, old shotgun in hand, heart sinking. In the whole history of the settlement, there had never been such a case of disobedience to the authority of the prophet. If minor errors were punished so sternly, what would come from this open rebellion? Ferrier was brave, but he trembled at the shadowy terrors all around him. All he could do was wait for Jefferson Hope and pray that he would arrive soon. John Ferrier has done the unimaginable and defied the will of the prophet. What will befall him and his daughter now? And will Jefferson Hope arrive in time to save them? Join us tomorrow as we explore the final chapter of this tragic backstory and uncover the crimes a man would devote his lifetime to avenging. From BeFM Drama, this is your host, Joshua Cornwell.